Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Battery Talks 2023 Predictions Special Edition. We have heard your comments. The predictions we posted on LinkedIn were TLDR. We get it. So we're going to read them to you with a little Jeff and Aubert commentary added in to save your eyes and make them a little bit more palatable.
Yeah, we're here to give you our hot takes on 2023. And, at the end of the year, what we're going to do is grade ourselves. I really envision this manifesting itself in some form of Aubert gloating at me and having to eat my own words for being a little aggressive on my foreshadowing. But, in all seriousness, though, we hope you enjoy these and, leave your opinions in the comments. We're more than happy to read them and respond. But as far as the structure of this whole thing, we're going to start off with a little bit of the IRA, government spending, and then independent funding. We'll move on to supply chain and materials, hit up EVs and packs, and then we'll round it all out with a few predictions on battery chemistry. So we're going to first up and start with the IRA, government spending, and independent funding.
First prediction is more money to be invested into batteries and EVs in 2023 than in 2022. A little obvious, but that's the start. But with a shift in focus. So we think from early startup SPACs and IPOs with new technologies, that are realistically going to take about 10 years to commercialize. We think it's going to move to companies with manufacturing capacity and material supply chain advantages. In particular, governments investing in locally sourced battery producers, infrastructure, and supply chains to prevent strategic dependence. So the IRA in particular is going to lead to significant investments in the U.S. battery supply chain, starting with materials production capacity of things like LFP, lithium, and silicon.
Yeah, going forward, those who have been funded at the 100 plus million level are going to struggle to find talent. It's kind of a rarity these days. Everybody's poaching everybody, especially when everyone's trying to keep it local. They're going to struggle getting materials. Unfortunately, we haven't untangled that supply chain network, and then equipment lead times are going to absolutely kill a lot of these projects. We're looking at 2 years for a coder, for example. And then also we're going to see battery material companies failing to successfully bring their technology to market as planned in this year. So we're seeing 2024, I guess this is a prediction for 2024 from 2023, that we're going to have a bunch of companies just going under. Moving on to government-related entities, current emergency responders like fire departments are ill-equipped to handle the acceleration of technologies based on hazardous chemistries of battery materials. For example, one thing I can think of is current fire departments do not have the protective gear to withstand the intensity or chemicals from a lithium metal battery fire. We foresee the creation or augmentation of additional first responders geared specifically for hazardous battery material related incidents in response to this problem. For example, what is the best way to run sprinkler systems, or maybe it's not a sprinkler system at all, in a battery facility? Lithium metal and water is bad.
Now we're moving on to supply chain and material predictions. First, raw materials, cathode metals and lithium in particular, and therefore cells and packs, will continue to grow in cost as supply-limited markets meet the bottomless demands for future EVs that are coming at us. As the supply chain continues to build up to meet the enormous quantities of material that EVs are predicted to demand, we foresee a lot of states and countries, so states in the U.S. and other countries, seeking new jobs and investments locally by attracting companies with reduced regulation.
Now moving on to some company predictions. Now, per usual, we're not going to try and name any companies outright. QuantumScape, no, but seriously, please don't sue us. We're poor. But we're thinking companies with intrinsically safer chemistries are going to rise above those with higher risk chemistries as the fallout of battery incidents and other subsequent recalls continue to increase. Recent SPAC, IPO, EV, and battery companies will continue to see their stock value fall in 2023 as hyped expectations fail to meet reality. There will probably be more restructuring and consolidation among the major global auto and battery manufacturers in 2023 and onwards towards reduced costs, so a lot more collaborations, a lot more streamlining, maybe shared platforms. And there will be a limited number of winners as new technologies are adopted, especially in the silicon and solid state space, where there's a lot of competitors, frankly, who are all competing for the same share in relatively small markets, and especially since they will fail to meet the expected demands in the near term. We both really liked the following quote by Alexei Andreev, a managing director at Autotech Ventures. He basically said, If I'm LG, if I'm Samsung, if I'm SK or BYD or Panasonic, they do what they know the best. But as a startup, I have no chance to compete with those established players. My take is it will be a miracle if even one of them make it. If you're competing directly with tier ones with the same chemistries for the same market space, examples of this are going to be like LFP or prismatic cells with CAT and BYD. We're going to drink a beer for you because that's a giant uphill battle.
So next up is EV and pack predictions. In the short term, smaller battery packs with, yes, less range, and hybrid cars will be adopted as a stopgap solution to the lack of batteries needed at the costs required to meet the needs of the industry. Consumers and EV companies are also going to have to come to terms with the trade-off of range anxiety, which is energy cells, fast charging, which is power cells, and cost, which in many cases impacts safety. You can't have them all. Customers and investors are becoming more discerning, and automakers, dealers, consumers are coalescing around what they want and truly need, said Chris Stallman, a partner at Fontinalis. So we also foresee EV price cuts from competition and a bearish economic market kind of in general. Also, charging infrastructure and power grid is going to need to grow rapidly, or it's going to really limit the ability of EV adoption in nearly every city, province, and country around the world. And lastly, safety, environmental impact, and recycling are all going to become much more critical considerations as battery and EV production continues to scale quickly. So safety materials, safer cells, and safer packs are going to have to be more valued as companies, regulators, and consumers navigate the battery safety incidents and recalls of the last 2 years, which have been pretty horrific.
Moving on to battery and cell chemistries, what we see is one battery is not going to fit all applications. New technologies are going to correctly shift their target markets away from EVs to applications that are more readily fit their strengths. So quicker market, quicker sell, everything else. And then market valuations of these companies and technologies are probably going to adjust accordingly, right? If you have a small market that you're really targeting and entering, your valuation will adjust. And then additionally, we foresee additional niche chemistries emerging as investors look to avoid chemistries oversaturated with incumbent players. Silicon, solid state, two examples of this. And this will be the continuing trend of reduced focus of talent and money in nearer term technologies, and more looking towards what are the next steps where they can really make that 10x gain.
All right, thank you for joining us, everybody. This concludes the Battery Talk predictions for 2023. We look forward to discussing these topics and more with you throughout the rest of the year. And if there's other things you'd like us to cover, please throw them in the comments. We would love your feedback. Thanks for joining us, everybody. That concludes the Battery Talk predictions for 2023. We look forward to discussing these topics with you and much more for the rest of the year. Please put anything you want us to discuss in the comments. And as always,
like, comment, subscribe.